Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. Been rolling relatively well. You know, 10 wins in a row. Last two were pretty easy. Start with Polyphemus and what appears to be a library, NYDV VC F4. All I'll say is that I do not know... Oh, that's amazing. I do not know if 23 rate of fire... That's so good, dude. I don't know if that's good with Polyphemus, because Polyphemus obviously it changes the game a little bit. I'll tell you, I think it's better than good. I think that 20. If I had to make a guess, I think. But there's a problem here. Hold on a second. If I remember correctly, Monstro's Lung Polyphemus, very powerful. However, takes an outrageously long time to charge. I know you're like, just do it forehead. But like, I think it takes such a long time to charge as to possibly not be worth it, even though both of these are amongst my favorite items in the game. No joke, I love Monstro's Lung. Here's my thinking, okay? Let's put some money on it. Let's put some skin in the game. Right, Ruka? So let's put some fur in the game. If we get a tiers upgrade from the boss, I will take it. That helps offset the cost a little bit and also makes things a little bit more entertaining here, you know? This is how I win. Because I think Monstro's Lung plus Polyphemus, we've had it enough before that it's left like a permanent mark on my brain. And the mark is, it can be dangerous. So if you give me a nice rate of fire increase, I'll go for it. Any rate of fire, we'll give it a shot. It's not, hey, look, I hope at this point you respect me, you understand me, you know that I would have honored the terms of the deal. For now, I'm not going to honor the terms of the, well, actually, I guess I am honoring the terms of the deal. I'm just not giving you one for free. The thing is, I'm not risking it for nothing. The game's got to meet me halfway. Anyway, it's really like, you know, it's so good. For me, it's kind of like, you know, we already have our favorite meal here, Polyphemus. It's like you went to your favorite restaurant, you ordered your favorite meal, and they were like, by the way, do you want to add donkey sauce? And you're like, I don't know what that is. And they're like, well, you could try it for only 75 cents. And you're like, yeah, but it could ruin the Salisbury steak. And I've been looking forward to the Salisbury steak all day. Although, I'll tell you, I don't know if anything's ruining this run. We're skipping items left, right, and center, and still in a dominant place. Throw that bad boy down. Anyway, dude, it's good. Hey, let's not worry. We're not going to spend hours and hours talking about the item we could have taken that would have... Really, in the whole scheme of things, how much would it change the camber of the run? The pitch and the yaw? Not that much, I think. Dude, I am so in for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm just going to call it 2020 to delineate. We're getting a new computer, like, probably within the next 6 weeks for work. I mean, I say for work, for what you're watching right now. The computer I have right now, it's actually served me fine. There's been ups and downs, but the time is right. Like, the computer is... It was pretty good when got. Now it's been a few years, and it's definitely time for us to make a swing there. Part of the reason that I want to go like to a nuclear level with this computer, I want it to have like the capabilities of the International Space Station, which now that I think about it, maybe we shouldn't have picked that up. Honestly, I think that's the only one worth taking there. I hate to say it, but it's the honest to goodness truth. But honestly, one of the reasons I want it to be outrageously powerful is to handle Microsoft Flight as beautifully as possible. I'm that kind of guy. You might have remembered last year I started playing X-Plane. Played quite a lot of it, to be honest. Bought a, admittedly, you know, budget-priced HOTAS in order to keep, you know, the authenticity as high as possible without breaking the bank, because let's be honest, you know, I'm not going to go to pilot school anytime soon. So I wouldn't say I'm all in, but I'm like I'm definitely ready. It's unironically one of my like most anticipated titles of the year. I'm not making fun of anybody else. Most of my making fun of just comes from a position of defensiveness, if anything. Nothing here? Nothing here. But, like, sometimes people will be like, really? Because I hear this all the time about, like, a racing game or, like, a sports game. People be like, really? F1 2019 was one of your favorite games of last year? I'm like, dude, honestly, give me something like Microsoft Flight Sim or, like, a killer racing game over yet another, quick-time adventure plus cover-based third-person shooter about the zombie apocalypse. No offense. Everybody, you like what you like. Why, you know, you don't have to insult what other people like. That's why I get annoyed sometimes when I talk about sports and chats like sports Resident Sleeper. Like, you don't have to care about them. But, like, being mad about it is just weird to me. And then inevitably, whenever you're like, hey, why are you, like, so dismissive about sports? They're like, jocks were mean in high and middle school to me. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I wasn't. I was just hanging out. I was talking to my friends about lemmings. Now, I gotta pay the price because, you know, Tanner, the tight end, was like, he pushed you into a locker or something like that, and forever, for the rest of your life, you've been like, I hate sports because of that. It's not the ball's fault, dude. That's Tanner's dad's fault. He drinks too much. Anyway. Oh, sorry. Too real? I'm not taking Tanner's side, dude. I'm just saying, don't hold it against the rubber puck. Honestly, take that, rewind it back. This one, it's going fast. I'm kind of trying to throw a dampener down, slow it down a little bit, fish around. That's fine. Maybe find a second secret room? No. We've been to our item room, and we really got fairly limited interest in the shop potential. Locust of Death is beautiful. I mean, this run is just, it's kind of incredible right now. But it's so basic. We've skipped so many items. Anyway, Microsoft Flight. I don't know if I'm going to stream it. I really like, and this is something I've talked about ad nauseum. By the way, get ready for me to talk about things that I talk about ad nauseum, because this is episode 4100 or something. You know, we're playing the greatest hits here. I'm not coming in and being like, surprise, this whole episode's in Greek, you know? I'm coming in and I'm being like, man, deli counter, right? Which reminds me, I'm going to talk about bread a little bit later. Get ready for that. But suffice it to say, where was I going with this? Oh, I like to keep a separation of church and state when it comes to games that I enjoy in my off time and games that I enjoy on stream. That's not to say if I enjoy something on stream, I won't play it in my off time. Happens fairly frequently. And if I enjoy something in my off time, and people also happen to love watching it, it'll get played on the stream. You know, there's some synergy there, without a doubt. But for the most part, where I think I disagree with a lot of streamers, and I think if I had to put a value judgment on it, I'd say I think they do themselves a slight disservice sometimes. They go, I'm only gonna stream stuff that I want to play. So if I wake up today and I want to play Super Street Fighter 4, then we're going to play Super Street Fighter 4 on stream, even if 85% of my audience thinks it's a Resident Sleeper. Now, I know that Microsoft Flight Sim, we could definitely stream a couple of short-haul flights, and people would find it fun. But, like, don't get your hopes up that it's like, oh yeah, in June, all we're gonna do is fly, you know, commercial jets. Not gonna happen. Unless the response is out of nowhere, overwhelmingly, like, more of this. I've always wanted to have all the experience of being on an airplane without ever actually going anywhere. But you get the idea. I really like, you know, there's enough games out there. We live in a bountiful video game world. Some stuff's great on stream that I wouldn't play in my off time. Like, I'm never going to play golf with your friends in my off time. That doesn't mean I'm not having a great time with it on the stream. But I'm never going to just boot it up and be like, I could really go for 18 holes of forest right now. And then similarly, sometimes I get, you know, I'll get into a mode of playing, like, you know, Like NHL 2 years ago was probably the best example, where I was like, I'm playing this like, 3 hours a night, but I'm not going to dedicate my stream to being like, NHL 18, because I think that's just a recipe for for disaster. Disaster in slow motion. So I like that. And I like this. I like this a lot, honestly. We might as well suck it up. We got Leviathan out of it as well. This is crazy. It's just nuts. But yeah, you're going to make me talk about bread, huh? So I went to the grocery store yesterday. I wanted bread for sandwiches. Why wouldn't you? I wanted bread for sandwiches because, I haven't been doing as much meal prep, and then I thought, why don't I go to the original meal prep? Buy some deli meats and a loaf of bread, and then you got, sandwiches for a week. Well, you don't put cheese on your sandwich? Look, we're not going to get into that, okay? It's not germane to the purposes of this conversation. I got my own little bit going. Don't step on it, all right? But I was looking at the loaves of bread at this particular grocery store, and every single loaf had between 12 and 16 slices of bread. And this is one that kind of threw me. I was like, they all go bad in about 4 days. I was surprised how many people were like, 4 days? That doesn't seem right. I've eaten a lot of bread in my life. I feel like 4 days for a fresh loaf of bread is about average. Might be able to squeeze out that 5th day, but on the 5th day, you're kind of like, I'm checking the loaf. Now, mind you, I'm not looking down on anybody's bread preferences. If you're eating like, Dempster's, Villaggio, Wonder Bread sort of stuff, it's going to last a lot longer. I don't know if I've ever seen a piece of Wonder Bread with mold on it. But if you're, buying something a little bit more local or like, a little bit less, shall we say, chemical, something like that, you're going to, the shelf life, unrefrigerated, unfrozen, of bread is probably like 4 days. Maybe 5 from the time it's baked. And, maybe it's sat out on the grocery store shelf for a day. You get the idea. I'm going to tell you, it's not hard to eat 16 slices of bread in 4 days. You would just have 2 sandwiches a day. But I don't really want to have 2 sandwiches a day. I don't really want to have 4 slices of bread a day. I don't really want to have toast for breakfast. I don't really want to change the terms of my life just to accommodate this single loaf of bread that for whatever reason has so many slices. So I threw a tweet out there into the ether. I said, hello, Twitter. How am I supposed to eat this much bread without like overdosing on carbohydrates? People should really start selling half loaves. Now, many of you are probably like, they sell half loaves where I am. That's great. I'm glad to hear it. If anything, I take that as an indicator, to be honest, that my idea is good, that the market has elevated those products to the forefront in certain areas of the world. Okay. I think we just want that, weirdly enough. So I really do. I look at that as a victory. But you would be stunned, or maybe you wouldn't be, at the number of people who were extremely committed to our present, admittedly inefficient style of bread consumption. The number one thing people suggested was when you buy a loaf of bread, take half of it out of the bread bag immediately, put it into another bag, leave it in your freezer, and then when you finish the first loaf, I think we do want that, weirdly enough. When you finish the first loaf, the first half loaf, I should say, pull the other one out of the freezer. And there you go. Now, I want to be very clear. I consider that a solution. I really do, because it is. I can't deny that. On the other hand, why do I have to buy Ziploc bags or saran wrap or whatever just to be able to put the other half of the bread loaf in the freezer? Can't they just sell half loaves? So many people, I was not annoyed by the fact that they offered solutions. What annoyed me was the fact, I felt like, Elon Musk pitching the electric car, and everyone's like, but where are they going to put the gas? Why don't you just get a car with better gas mileage, Elon? I'm like, I'm changing the freaking game out here, and nobody's listening. But, okay, hold on, we're going down here. I know how I'm doing this one. A lot of people told me to just eat more bread. A lot of people shamed my wife for not eating bread. Really, what did the bread companies ever do for you? That you have such slavish adoration for them. They can do no wrong. Even had some people come out of the woodwork and say, NL. It's just because you have a small family right now. Like, if you have a big family, then one loaf of bread is like the perfect amount. Okay. Where did I ever say you should only be able to buy 1.5 loaf of bread? Ever. And have you ever gone to the store and been like, wow, there's not enough bread here, you know? If you could buy 2 half loaves, or you could buy 1 full loaf, or you could buy 1.5 loaves. And mostly I was annoyed because all these people acting like they ain't ever thrown out a moldy slice of bread before. Meanwhile, they're probably same people who are like, put it in the freezer. Dummy, you don't want to waste bread. They probably throw out the end pieces every time because they're icky. Too much crust. Okay, now that's an attack on character, I apologize, but I just don't understand the resistance to the idea of a half loaf. What is the half loaf? How does it hurt you? The only point I considered salient when it came up was people were like, if the fat cats in control of the bread industries make half loaves, the half loaf will not cost half as much as a full loaf. It'll probably cost like 75% as much. I was like, you know what? I can see why you would be mad about that. At the same time, I think there's some static costs associated that, you know, are inelastic on a half loaf of bread. Like, you know, you still got to ship it. It takes up a little bit less space, but you still got to ship it. You still got to put it on the shelves. It does take up half as much space. I guess you could put twice as many loaves out there, but you get the idea. You know, plus, apparently, I didn't realize this, but there's going to be an awful lot of resistance to the idea of a half loaf. You're going to have people coming up asking your manager, what the heck are you thinking with these half loaves? Yo, that's another guppy. 2 in a row, baby. Suffice it to say, there was a lot of pushback. Sure. But on the other hand, I was like, you know, I also, for me, look, if a loaf of bread is like $2, I'm just picking a nice round number. If you want to argue about that, that's your business. If a loaf of bread is like $2 and they want to charge $1.50 for a half loaf, at the end of the day, for me, that's still another 50 cents in my pocket. A little bit of extra space in my freezer and no guilt from, you know, filling up my compost bin with a bunch of moldy bread slices once a week. That's just my 2 cents. I really, by the way, I think I'm on the right side of history on this one. You know, I think as we, you know, as a population, at least in North America, we have more people, you know, being carbohydrate conscious that still might want to consume a little bit of bread, you know, for convenient lunches. More people, you know, living either alone or with like one other person. You know, these 12 to 16 slice loaves that go bad in a few days. I think that they're, I'm not saying they don't have a market. Obviously, bread is doing pretty well. I think bread's doing all right. But I'm telling you, smaller loaves. If I worked in marketing, and you might say this is the reason why I don't. The real reason why I don't is because I already have the best job in the world, and that job sounds kind of stupid. But, I mean, I literally just made it up. If I worked as a brand consultant for a bread company right now, I would be like, by 2021, we need to have half loaves out there. Half loaves are gonna be the next big thing. Now, I'll tell you, I don't always see the use case for the smaller portion size, you know? Like, you know how, like, for Coca-Cola, they have, like, 355 milliliter cans, and then they'll have, like, you know, 500 milliliter bottles, liter bottles, 2-liter bottles, etc., etc. I don't know if they Americanize the measurements, honestly. I'm not trying to make this, like, a metric versus imperial thing. That's just how we know them up here. 1 liter... That's ridiculous. What do you call it? 32 ounces, of course. Nice round number. Now I'm trying to make it a thing, I guess. Anyway. Hold on, I gotta think. I think we already have Polaroid, so let's take negative just for sport. And then in here, honestly, I don't really love any of our familiars. Although it did turn all of our spiders into money, which is not something I expected. Little unusual there. And I don't really want that either for speed. What do you got for me? Nothing here tickles my fancy, honestly. We'll just move along. But then they've got like the super tiny cans, like the They might be like 100 to 150 milliliters, you know, like the thin, tiny boys. And those are the ones where, like, for regular Coke, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I really still don't fully understand why they make a Diet Coke version. I'm like, the only use case I can see is that you don't want the calories, but you still want a little bit of the taste that won't let you down. So you go and you get yourself a little tiny can. And to be honest, by the end of the tiny can, you're probably like, ah, that's enough for me anyway. But like, I don't know. To be honest, I am a thirsty guy to begin with. Like, and I've talked about this with Bear Taffy before, but like when I go out to a restaurant, because he's the same way, I could easily drink 2 liters of water at the restaurant. I'm thirsty. I like to drink water. I like the taste and the sensation. Moreover, sometimes like I eat pretty fast. I eat faster than Kate. Then I'm just bored, just sitting there. So what am I gonna do? Might as well stuff my gullet with some water, you know? Keep the old brain pumping serotonin. So I've never finished like a can of Diet Coke and been like, whoa, that was too much for me. I've never gone and like getting the second can right away, but so I'm like, I don't know. The thin cans of those don't make sense to me, but I've come to accept as well, as I've gotten older, you know, the world doesn't move to the beat of just one drum. Just because it might not be right for you doesn't mean it's not right for somebody else. Now, I don't think I've ever seen those cans outside of the grocery store. Never been to somebody's house and they've been like, hey, would you like an incredibly small can of Diet Cola? Literally has never happened, but it might have happened to other people. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Maybe there's a run on them out there right now. You never know with the whole COVID-19 stuff going on right now. Hey, how dare you? All I'm saying, number of people who were like, there's no need for a half loaf, kind of blew me away. Honestly, like, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not angry about this at all or resentful. I'm just like, I'm throwing this out there as a learning lesson, to be honest. I also brought up the other day, like, well, this is probably like 3 months ago. So I've been drinking a lot of protein shakes. I got the recipe from your mom, and I'm sorry, but it's true. She's a connoisseur, and let's not try to make any extra wordplay out of that. I use a brand of protein powder where I love the macros on it, and I haven't found anything that's comparable, at least locally, to compete with that. But it's real messy. I know you're like, well, it just being neater. No, this is like. It's for anybody that's listening, it's Vega Sport protein. I'd really recommend it. The normal Vega is like sand, in a good way, for cleanup. But it has 10 grams less protein per serving. Vega Sport, I don't know, they put a little extra sauce into the package somehow. The downside of that is that it's way messier, it gets everywhere, it gunks up the blender bottle, you know. It has some associated negatives. Let me just put it that way. Why not? I know it kind of ruins Guppy here, but I don't think generating spiders is going to be much of a problem for us moving forward. So I thought, you know what would be sick? You know, Tide Pods, they're around, you know. The Tide, we use pods, not just Tide. Like, I've used Tide Pods in the past. The actual brand, no problem with them. I would recommend them. But we've used some other pods as well. The pod itself has kind of become like a delivery mechanism for laundry detergent because it's convenient. And I was like, you know what? There's no reason in my head you couldn't wrap like protein powder, 1 serving of protein powder, in essentially a bioplastic. Yeah, that'll work. And then, you know, you just throw that into a bottle, and then you're shaking up the bottle or you're blending it anyway, so it's going to dissolve really easily. And then you don't have to deal with the mess of, like, reaching your hand into the scoop and getting the fine grain particulate all over your hand. And then inevitably, like, an hour later, you're like, where did that come from? And you're like, oh, it's the mess from when I had my protein shake earlier today. Everybody laughed at me. They said it's not possible, not possible. Here's all the reasons you can't do it. Like a week later, I saw an ad for it. By the way, I want to be clear. I'm not saying I invented it. This is definitely like a great minds think alike situation. And they were like, well, now there's no reason to do it. Somebody's already done it. And I'm like, you're coming up with too many no's. Everybody knows that a yes man is bad. But a no man, for me right now, is substantially worse. If I have an idea and I pitch it to somebody and they're like, I like your idea, but here's my problems with it, that's one thing. If they're like, here's all the reasons why this won't work, I'm like, you have no vision, sir. You have no vision. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching. This was a really quick one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. See ya.